There's a ton of skepticism around AI.
What if it kills us?
And why is that? I'm curious.
There's so much that we don't know in life. And so I think that's why it's one of the most important skills to be able to be comfortable in uncertainty.
If you have no exposure to AI and you're only hearing about it on the news, at least for me, initially at the beginning too, you know, like the podcasts that were happening about it were like, whoa, this thing's about to change our lives. We're all playing some sort of game, you know, whether it's working a 9 to 5 to retire at 60, whether it's being an entrepreneur. We're all playing a game, and just strictly being aware of what that game is allows you to, you know when you're winning and losing.
Maybe start by sharing the Tim Ferriss idea, just so people have a sense of what's up for the podcast.
Yeah, inspired by Tim and Kevin. Tim's been I've been a huge fan of Tim. I wish he was a fan of me, but
Sorry, he doesn't even know you.
They've hopped on, I think since 2010, they hop on like twice a year, and just like, they're the type of friends who they're both like doing and moving in the world, like they're doing things, and then they come back twice a year, and they see each other more than that, I think, but they deep dive and they just hit record, and it's like, I've been watching it now for probably 6 years, or listening to it, and to see the relationship build and see what they talk about, and it's interesting.
I could see it'd be cool for you and I to look back on, say, in like 10 years' time.
Yeah.
To see where we're at.
Yeah.
I also like the podcast platform to share your hot takes, to share your perspectives. So, I mean, you don't do that much podcasting, so I'm excited to...
I've never done one.
Oh, really? It's your first one?
I think, yeah.
Oh, cool. Well,
I don't think we've done one, have we?
I don't think so.
No.
I think I would have remembered.
First podcast, yeah.
So, what's let's just start with a hot take from you. What's something that you really believe or see in the world at this stage of your life that, say, you didn't like 3 years ago?
I believe, like, do I want to go there?
It's up to you. Yeah, it's weird, right? Because now like the cameras are on.
Yeah.
It's you and me. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I actually don't care about the cameras. It's more like, open up. The first thing that came to my mind is it's AI and systems, what we've kind of been talking about a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's more to do with the skepticism that is, I hear from a lot of people.
Yeah.
And around AI. And like, a lot of the conversations, depends who I'm having it with. If it's me and you, we're talking about how it's empowering us and freeing up our time, and it's positive. That's the way I look at it. When I have conversations with people that aren't really familiar with it, or haven't used it, or maybe are just hearing AI on the media, it's always like very skeptical, like instantly. It's like, oh, is that good that it's doing that for you? I'm like, well, I don't know. I used to edit this packaging for 4 hours, and now I did it in 1 hour.
Yeah.
It seems like a pretty positive thing to spare my time. So, yeah, the take being, something I've noticed is that there's a ton of skepticism around AI. And why is that? I'm curious.
Well, I was thinking about why it was when you were saying that. I was also thinking the same thing. Like, why is that? And I think that it's, the thing that comes to me first is that we kind of fear what we don't know. Fear the unknown.
Yep.
And interesting, there was this study that I heard about from Aubrey Marcus. He was talking about this study that they did with children who were in school, and they wanted to test to see how far would they be willing to push their boundaries of, like, physically, like how far would they roam and explore. They're very young kids. I think they're like 5 years old, 6 years old. And what they found was, as they put a known border further out, they would actually go further. But when there was no border at all, they would go shorter. So when there was actually a boundary of safety, they felt safe enough to walk and explore further. But when there was no boundary at all, when it was all unknown, they had the whole thing they could have gone and explored, but they didn't, because it was just so unknown. There wasn't that same blanket of safety. These are 5 or 6 year old kids, but I think that it's kind of a testament to this idea of it's good to have boundaries and to get to know things, but also there's so much that we don't know in life. And so I think that's why it's one of the most important skills to be able to be comfortable in uncertainty.
Yeah.
Certain in uncertainty, comfortable in discomfort.
Yeah.
Because life is just so full of that. So in your example, to me, I just think people, and I think people have also seen the fucking Terminator. You know, and it's just like a lot of like they're so powerful and it's learning so fast. What if it kills us?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I don't know. That's what I think about that.
Yeah.
Well, why do you think that is? Why people are skeptical?
I think news and media would be a fair part of it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you have no exposure to AI and you're only hearing about it on the news, at least for me, initially at the beginning too, you know, like the podcasts that were happening about it were like, whoa, this thing's about to change our lives. Like, and it's hard. I mean, actually, interesting for me, like I've heard skepticism from people who are very smart and, you know, well versed in it as well.
Yeah.
That's another topic for me. I think there's like, you know, there's the general public that maybe doesn't have an understanding and they're fearful of uncertainty. And then there's the people who are knowledgeable and they can extrapolate what's happening currently into the future.
Yeah.
Like, I do it all the time. Like, I mean, I think multiple times a day, I'm like, I extrapolate something that I just learned with AI into the future, you know, whether it's 5 years, 100 years, I don't know, just to like try and guess like how this will go.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it can be scary.
Have you asked ChatGPT what it thinks will happen?
No.
We should ask ChatGPT.
It's a great question. Yeah.
Know what it thinks about where it's going to go.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody at this point knows that it's super rapid.
Yeah.
Like the learning is so rapid.
Yeah.
The integration of it, it affects my life a ton. Like, I mean, working on the computer for you, I'm sure it would. I'm interested to see once like for people like us, and I will, like, who are, say, running our own businesses, and we're kind of wearing a lot of different hats in our business as well.
Yeah.
I think it impacts us quite a bit.
Yeah.
People who are maybe working for a company doing like a 9 to 5, the same thing every day, it doesn't really, I think for them to see the change, AI needs to be integrated into like the larger system, like the bureaucratic system, like, you know, because they're a person doing one thing for a larger, like for any large business, for them to like look at the government's online, the Canadian government's online like portal and like system to access your taxes and everything.
Yeah.
To me is like painfully slow and just like not intuitive. And I'm like, okay, there's.
Why do you think the government always makes the worst fucking websites? It's so boring, so easy to use. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a big enough system. You don't need to change. It's hard to make change. So once AI like impacts those like systemically, then I think the world will look very, very different.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens. I feel so. I think this is a good thing and a bad thing. I don't really deeply think about what things are gonna be like in like beyond like 5 years. I remember hearing this idea from Stephen Kotler. He's like, don't plan longer than 3 years because too much changes in 3 years to plan beyond that.
Yeah.
So that comes up for me.
Yep.
And yet, guys that have made hundreds of millions of dollars in the internet marketing space, let's say, they'll tell you to catch trends early or to be involved in what's happening in technology so you can take advantage of it and use it before anybody else, before it becomes normal and everyone's operating at that level. So I kind of know I'm behind as well.
Behind maybe to some.
Yeah.
I would say ahead still.
I mean, it depends who you compare yourself to, I guess. But I just like... I think it's just as an entrepreneur, it's like there's so much that you like need to learn or like want to learn about. There's just too much to learn in the time that you have as a human.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is so frustrating to me because I want to know everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can't.
Can do anything but not everything. So
That's an idea Tim Ferriss talks a lot about. Focus.
Yep. There's a question. This actually came from him. Is what game are you playing long term? A question to ask yourself.
Oh, that's a good question.
Something that I've been doing, which I maybe for a few months now, it's part of my system now, which is I have a daily reminders in my reminders app on my iPhone.
Yeah.
And it's 5 reminders live in there. So I want to be reminded by 5 things per day. And they're scheduled at different times throughout the day.
Yeah.
And they revolve kind of each week. I'll pick like one or two new ones and then just replace them.
Okay.
So it's kind of always evolving with just kind of takeaways that I've taken from reading a book or whatever, but limiting it to 5 and keeping it at 5. And the one question is, what game are you playing long term? And just knowing that, like, we're all playing some sort of game, you know, whether it's working a 9 to 5 to retire at 60, whether it's being an entrepreneur to live like, to have freedom of time and place. Like, we're all playing a game, and just strictly being aware of what that game is allows you to know when you're winning and losing. And so, if I'm an entrepreneur and I value my freedom of time and place over having like super expensive things, then in the moments of me comparing myself to someone who just bought a new car, it's like, I'm not playing that game. It's just, that's okay. They're playing that game. I'm not. That's a helpful, similar to the, you can do anything, but not everything.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. What's your game?
Freedom of time and place. Yeah, would be a big portion of it. Flexibility, like to be able to wake up and do what I want, and to be like, I'm a systems guy. Sometimes I think too much. At times I feel like it's too structured. And yet, if you flew in and texted me like, "Hey, do you want to go out for coffee tomorrow?" I always have the time to do that, and I would always do it. And I do that with people.
You do that.
I do that with people, and so, I
love the point you made about then you know what success really is, because the guy that you referenced who might buy a Lamborghini, he may have learned that the guy who has the shiniest car is the most successful, or just who has the most. How much can I accumulate? How much stuff can I accumulate? Lamborghinis, watches, houses, and they might be playing a game that they didn't even want to play. They were just taught this game early in life, the status game, or who can get the most game, and they completely forgot about what maybe really matters to them, like some of these deeper things like health, like a connection to what's beyond them, a connection to life, beautiful relationship that they really love. And I think for me, my game, because I've done a lot of work at a very young age, luckily for me, to really tune into what I really want, and like what is success for me. And it's definitely just being able to travel wherever I want, whenever I want, and to just be around awesome people. I just want to do what I love. Am I doing something I love? And am I around awesome people? For me, that is...
that's pretty simple.
That's success for me.
I love that.
Now, there's a few things that take away from success. Like, say I'm doing what I love and I'm around awesome people, but, like, I'm completely broke and don't have any money. Like, that wouldn't also necessarily be success. Like, I wouldn't be depressed, but, like, financial success actually is a part of my success.
I mean, being able to travel anywhere at any time.
Yeah, I guess that kind of
implies it a little bit.
Yeah, it does imply that.
Yeah, I like that.
I would say that.
Simple.
Yeah, it's really simple, I remember Sigmund Freud said that life is really just made up of love and work. I was like, I like that. Was Jamie's brain?
Well, it separates them. It's instantly says that they're not the same, right?
I thought about that just yesterday too, or a couple days ago. I was thinking about the distinction between work and play. Alan Watts says, "Why make the distinction?
Right.
Why bother?"
Right.
And I'm big into that too.
Yeah.
And yet, there's a different energy that I have, say, on like a date or when I'm having some romance or with my family than when I'm working in my business.
Yeah.
I think love, it can be everything. You can play in your work, but I do like that distinction of like professional and personal life.
Yep. Yeah. Separating them.
Yeah.
Yep. For sure.
It's interesting too because I'm thinking about working with my mom to help me. She really wants to help, and she offered it to me, and
that's so cool.
It is
by the
really
way.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I've been thinking a lot about what will happen to our relationship. Like, one of my things is we're gonna use just Telegram for business conversations and just WhatsApp for personal.
Okay.
Because I really want to keep those separated.
Yeah.
As much as it'd be fun to see her a lot more, I just want to also have like my mom still personally.
Yeah.
And not like, because I know what it's like, how I relate to an employee, and I'm like, I don't want that to be my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've worked with friends before, right?
I did work with friends when I first started my business. We were business partners. I started the business and I ran it by myself for like 2 months or 3 months or whatever. And I was like, I want to do this with someone else. I'm alone. I was like, I don't want to do this alone.
Yeah.
Which is a bad reason to get business partners.
Yeah.
And so I invited my friends to come join. And plus, it's like extra help, and they weren't idiots. Like, they were smart people and stuff like this.
Yeah.
But it just, for whatever reason, this dynamic didn't work. It taught me a lot about business partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that kind of makes me hesitate. I want to collab, but then you and me, we run retreats pretty easily. Like, you know,
Yeah.
we're not doing it on a super big scale or anything, and but it's definitely really doable, and I think it's the way.
Yeah.
Just bring all the people you love into your mission, and you can spend as max time with the best people.
Yeah, I've had multiple opportunities to work with friends and people, and I have worked with some.
Yeah.
And yeah, some of those relationships have turned more to work, and I had to take a step back in order to value the relationship over the work. And through that, and also seeing some of my dad's working relationships and a few other situations, I'm quite hesitant to get into a business partnership with somebody because it feels good.
Yeah.
Or because we want to spend more time together.
Yeah.
Because I think it'll just for sure do the opposite in the long run.
Yeah.
If that's the reason.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm a little skeptical.
It's a bad reason. And
Yeah.
my brother called me out on this so many times. I've had multiple times. I'm like, oh, I just gotta hire like a CFO or CMO. Just do all the shit I don't want to do, and just someone really good because they get a piece of the business, and I'll sell them the vision, and and we'll build it together, grow bigger together. He's like, bro, just make a little more money and hire someone. You have to give them 50
Yeah.
fucking pie.
100%.
Fucking idiot. I'm like, you wait. Because when I got these other two business partners, 33% for you, 33% for you. Let's have a great time. As if it was nothing, and it was nothing at that time, right?
Yeah.
3 months into the business, but still, that's so stupid. So.
Yeah.
But you live and you learn,
You live and you learn.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about business for a second. Business lessons. There might be some guys watching that are wanting to get into business or are in business. What insight have you learned that's had the biggest impact on you making more money?
The outcome that I can provide somebody is correlated to my compensation. So, for example, working with kind of the new construction company I've been working with, I've been trading my time for money in the past 4 years. I make an hourly wage.
Yeah.
Tim Ferriss's book 4 Hour Workweek shifts you out of that trading time for money.
Yeah.
And he kind of puts it this way, you're working at a job, a standard 9 to 5 in the office, and you're getting paid for 8 hours. You start simply tracking your time. How are you spending your time when you're at work? The majority of people, especially working in an office setting, man, you're chatting to your coworkers.
Yeah.
You're taking it actually is amazing when you're chatting to your coworkers, because then time goes by and you do it for an hour.
Yeah.
Okay. It's no big deal.
Right.
And then it's okay, I probably did 3 hours of solid work in that 8 hours.
Yeah.
And they're paying me that 8 hours and they're still profitable. And it's okay. So then COVID came around at that time for me. And Tim Ferriss says, he recommends just negotiate a 1 day at home a week working. And then if you take those 3 hours that you worked in the office and the company paid you for 8 hours and they're still profitable, you can get all the work that you were doing done in 3 hours at home, and now you have 5 hours to do something else.
Right.
And so that concept, I had applied that earlier on in COVID, and then it just makes you think of being efficient with your working hours,
Yes.
working for an outcome, and then what do I want to do with the rest of my time?
Absolutely.
Now, fast forward 4 or 5 years after kind of aiming towards that goal, still limited, subconsciously still limiting myself an hourly rate.
Yeah.
And Troy is his name, who I've been working with. Amazing guy. And he's helped me break a lot of my beliefs around money.
Uh-huh.
And it was specifically when working for him, we were talking about the outcomes that I was going to do for him. Like we were kind of brainstorming. I went to stay at his house for like a week, like when I was going through some tough times.
Yeah.
Went and stayed with him for a week. No expectation as to what was going to happen that week. And it was like the first or second night we just like dove in and started talking about business and life. And the piece fit so well, what I could provide him and the outcome that it could give him. And like, you know, I started thinking as he was expressing what this really meant to him and his business, like him personally, but also it was all around systems and freeing his time and space. So if I can provide this outcome for him, it's actually worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to him.
Yes. Yeah.
So then I'm like, oh, okay. Well, if I'm providing him that outcome, then actually my hourly rate could be way higher, or I could just charge for an outcome.
Yes.
And so that's, went from making $40 an hour prior to that to $100 an hour for, we had done like a 2-week container for a specific project. So over doubled. And I remember the first few days, just like, it was kind of like everything was kind of blowing apart. Like I've thought in this linear way of time for money.
Yes. That's so cool.
Yeah.
How nice does that feel to earn like double what you were earning before?
Yeah, it feels really good. Yeah.
And imagine like 10 times that. Imagine, you know, whatever that is, $1,000 an hour, whatever that would be.
Yeah, it just inherently means that you're providing 10 times the outcome.
Exactly. 10 times
right?
the value. Yeah,
it's like if it's so possible.
Or to 10 times the person. If you can provide the same outcome, but for a way richer person. Like for example, I can give therapy to a guy who has a 9-to-5 and has $50K a year.
Yeah.
He might pay me $100 an hour, which is great.
Yeah.
But if I can provide the exact same service to a billionaire, and he'd pay me $1,000 an hour, or I could charge him that.
That's wild.
So it's not just the outcome; it's also who you're getting the outcome for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was talking with someone the other day about just going for rich people.
Yeah.
I was talking about that with my friend who I just saw yesterday. Actually, that's what we were talking about.
Okay.
He works with the Jets.
Okay.
And does high-end servicing for their people that stay in the boxes at the Jets game.
Okay.
Some ticket passes.
Yeah.
He's got a really good manager position there. Actually, recently got promotion.
Cool.
And, I was saying I think that's great. For one of the reasons I think it's great is because he gets to learn how to talk to high-end people. He gets to learn how they think, what needs they value most, and just also gets to build great relationships, obviously, with some of the richest people in Winnipeg. And so I also think it's important who you're giving that same outcome, who you're giving that outcome to. As well.
Yep. 100%. On a smaller scale, for me, selling products.
Yeah.
With Mammoth, it's like recently I changed an offering to be just more expensive. Like, I mean, literally just raised prices. And it is justified. Like, it's worth that.
Yeah.
I had kind of thought that the opposite was better, you know, just having the lowest cost, the lowest margins.
Yeah.
But increasing prices to what they should be, and then also offering like a bigger package, like it goes to a completely different clientele.
Totally.
And you start getting these like completely different clients that start buying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I also, like, personally for me, like, I just don't like dealing with the guy who's like can't put together like $25 or $50.
Yeah.
I have no judgment towards that in the sense of like fine.
Right.
Like I just don't like being around the energy of like I don't have $25 to pay you to come to this little event.
Yeah.
Why am I like you clearly don't value either what I value or like it's $25 like you're that's like come on
Yeah.
And I've been there. Like, I know what it's like to not have money
right.
for sure. So I actually get that.
You're not judging the person. It's just like, that person might get there in a year or two. They might figure it out.
And that's just not who I want to be around. Like, if that's where you're at, I'm not there. I don't want to be involved in all that. And I don't want to like beg you for your hard-earned $25. I'd rather talk to a guy who has the money. Yeah. And I'm like, it's like it's $1,000 or it's $10,000, and like sounds good. Yeah. That's who I want to be around. Not like, I have $25, $50.
Yeah.
So
that's a good segue to a question that I want to ask you, which is, who is your current ideal clients.
Yeah.
And who's your ideal client and also your current client? Because maybe your ideal
Too, yeah.
isn't what you're currently serving. And it makes me think of when we first started working together.
Yeah.
The first call we had, actually, the initial discovery call.
Yeah.
I remember going through, I'd kind of been on my personal growth journey already for a while.
Yes.
And so I remember you kind of reflecting back to me like, okay, like you have the bases covered. We can start looking at these things, you know, like
Yes.
morning routine, like health, like
Yeah.
these kind of things, these base things are covered. And I remember like the excitement that you had
Yes.
where it's like, oh, we can actually talk about the shit I want to talk about.
Yeah,
I don't have to just like bring this guy from the bottom.
Yeah.
So yeah, like kind of being, you know, close to where you're at, someone who's like a year or two behind is kind of how I see it. But yeah.
Well, it's an interesting question. So I have two. One client is the client who doesn't have that much money, like they're under 100K a year, even like around 50K a year, let's just say, 50, 60. And they are struggling with some type of addiction or like intense emotional thing, like as bad as like a breakup or something like that, where the pain is like they know they really need help. Like they can't do it by themselves. But they're in that income bracket, and they typically have a 9 to 5 in that scenario. And I'm actually making did I tell you I filmed a whole course a couple weeks ago?
No.
So I basically took like 12 months to just refine a lot of the best stuff I've learned.
Nice.
I started to organize it into Google folders and stuff like that. And then I took, and then I basically just isolated the core, the best stuff of what has helped me the most in the last 8 years. Because I've learned like 12 different therapy methods. So much information.
Yeah.
And I basically put it into a course where you basically just go video by video. And I just took like the best stuff on beliefs and emotions. These are the categories: beliefs and emotions, time and productivity, habits and lifestyle, traveling and making money, and networking, communication.
Cool.
And then I just put it into this course. So that would be for this guy. And I think I'm going to do something really low ticket, like $100 a month is what I'm thinking of giving it for. And being a part of a community and a course where I do a really potent, intense group call for like 3 or 4 hours once a month. And then I come in for a Q&A midway through, and I have a support coach in the community to...
Are you, when you put the course together, like when you say subscription, like are you teaching the course, or it's a video, like... It's
a video course.
Yeah, so somebody could watch it without you being a part of it. Yeah, okay.
And that was part of me thinking about scale.
Multiple levels.
Yes, because I've been at capacity with my one-on-ones, and which I'm not right now, which I'm so glad. And that was on purpose, because I needed some time to like make this scale, like, time to scale, like to actually build these systems to scale, because I realized I was capping myself doing one-on-ones. And so it's at least with this audience. You can only make so much money with this client that I just said. So that's one. And then the other one is like, you know, rich people, like founders, CEOs, salespeople that are doing 100K or well over. And this is peak performance coaching. So these are guys, they value trauma healing and this kind of thing, but really it's about performing at their peak, performing at a higher level. And it's just such a level of intensity that I need to bring to be able to create those results. And I love it. But I can only take on 3 of those clients at a time. And I charge $2K at least a month for that, US.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it's just it's a lot.
Yeah. I really love that you have those two.
Yeah. And then it also feels like I can serve people that I want, because I actually really, my heart, I don't care about helping peak performers perform better as much as I care about helping guys who I used to be heal. You know, like that pulls my heart so much more.
You know, you can add value, but the heart, is more there.
So I need to have that for me to be happy in my business. So, so honestly, it's like a 66% discount on my coaching services, if not like 70.
Wow.
But as far as the price difference between those two. And I consciously made that choice because I really wanted to do that. Plus, it's fun. Plus, I'm good at it, and it's easy for me at this point. And it still is money, like as long as it's not money. But it's just different type of money. So
I love it. Cool.
Thanks.
Follow-up question: as you were talking about building your course, and all these modalities that you've learned over the years, like what's the current Brett Bailey toolbox look like? You know,
that's
this guy's eyes light up. Well, we got IFS. Well,
okay, so So I actually, this is going to be such an annoying answer
Good.
for probably a lot of the viewers too. Not actually going to be annoying for you. I think you'll really like it. But I think that ultimately the best tool is being rooted in your being and basking in that long enough to start to see the truth of all this bullshit that you're caught up in the moment. And I think when you start to, all the tools really just lead you to that. And when you get to that, then all the problem goes away, because the problem is not of being. It's created in your mental forms. And so the whole problem goes away. So you kind of just, as opposed to solving a problem, you dissolve the problem in the first place.
Wow. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, that needs to sink in with me. That's good.
And that's why
I can see it, yeah.
All he talked about was the fucking present moment.
Yeah.
And that's because that is the thing.
I'm remembering some questions that I'm like, I wanted to ask you. It relates the Western. I wanted to ask you related to this. What are your tools? But Western versus Eastern. I read a great book called Already Free by Bruce Tift.
Okay, I've never heard that.
And it's essentially weighing the Western versus Eastern philosophies in therapy, and looking at where they're used and the pros and cons to each. And they're both useful for some things, someone with intense trauma that like literally cannot break a pattern.
Yeah.
Some sort of Western approach to bring them back to like that memory or something, so that they can maybe unlock it and then free them. But the Eastern, the main thing that stuck out with me is just like, you're already free. Like take a breath,
exactly.
Like take a breath and feel it go in your nose and out your nose, and look at the colors and sounds, and like be here now. Like you don't need to do anything. You don't need to.
Yes.
They can help, but
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a great point. Listen, I think that the therapy method I like the most, if I'm going to give one, is internal family systems. It's IFS.
Yeah.
Because
cool.
it does kind of bridge the East and the West, because they teach all these different parts, but who is it that's aware of the parts? And they call that self-energy. They call it presence. Yeah. Or what Buddhists call no mind. I think that's what they call it, no mind, or the void, or something like that. Yep. And so that's why I like about it. They actually bring in both, and I actually just think it's really practical, and it really meets people where they're at, because people can contextualize and see a different part of me. We can think, we can kind of personify animals. Yeah. Oh, you cutie, you're thinking about this. No, that's what you think. Yeah. We can kind of personify our different aspects of our psychology, and so we can understand we can understand our neural networks from a really clear mental framework, where our mind is like, so this is what's happening. Even though it isn't really what's happening, it can help you grasp what's happening, so you can work with it effectively. Yeah.
I love it. I love that that's your answer to pick one, because it's by far the favorite tool.
Yeah, you like it.
It was like, I showed that to you, right? I think you introduced it to me, and then we did some IFS. Yeah. I did listen to what's his name, Schwartz?
Yeah, Dick Schwartz, Richard Schwartz.
Yeah, and then podcasts, whatever. Learned a bit, and it slowly became a subconscious thing. It was still a conscious thing, but I could guide myself through the IFS pretty quickly, just because it's a framework that makes sense.
It does. I remember you picked it up. Actually, I did teach it to you, and you picked it up very, very quickly.
I remember we had tried quite a bit, and it was actually when you were just learning about it.
Was it?
And you were,
that's right.
And you were like, can I try this on you? I'm like, 100%, let's go.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, and it's for sure, it's a part of my life. It's like, even when I speak, it's like, a part of me wants to do this, another part of me wants to do that.
Yes.
And it's true. And to see them as different, different parts and different beings that have been formed from different experiences. Yeah. And they have different desires and protection mechanisms based on how it was formed, the experiences that it had. Yes. And then to have just an open dialogue with it. Yeah. To find out, what it's either trying to protect you of or pull you towards, and then to have that kind of open, loving conversation. Yeah. To acknowledge it, accept it, and be like, "Hey, I see you. thank you.
Yeah.
Like, thanks for wanting to protect me.
Yes.
And like, in this moment, you're actually not, like, I don't need you here for this or something. And like to acknowledge it and then also like let it go in a way.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Knowing you don't have to act on every part.
Yeah, that's what came up for you when you're talking about two different parts. Like, one's pulling me this way, one's pulling me this way. And, you know, ultimately, it just really gives you choice when you can see that so clearly, because then you can kind of choose, like, who you want to lead in your life. Like, do I want the part of me who's insecure and fearful and values certainty so much and holds on to things to lead my life?
Yeah.
Or do I want a part that's more focused on growth and aliveness and challenge and ready to take things to the next level? Whoever's leading will for sure determine the life that I get, because you attract what you are, not what you want. Generally, I think that's a pretty true saying. So anyways, I just think it's a great tool, but there's so many tools. In fact, one other one that I'll share that I have never done, nor do I like to think about, but it seems to work for people, which is EDMR. Or EMDR, excuse me. EMDR. Eye movement something. Where you basically, if I recall correctly, the therapist gets you to move your eyes like all while you process trauma.
Yes.
I actually interviewed an EMDR therapist like 4 years ago. I don't remember the whole conversation though. But that is one that has helped. That's very Western. Very like brain, kind of biofeedback vibe to it.
Yeah.
Very technical, brain oriented. And you don't see that in the East. They have all sorts of crazy shit. But that isn't something that like you'd catch in like an ancient East Indian text, Sanskrit book or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Do you think the East and West like slowly? I mean, it's slowly just like merging. Like the West will help the East, the East will help the West.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, because there's just healing, right? There's just transformation. We're just people.
Yeah.
Just different ways of approaching it. The Western just tends to be a lot more intellectual and, what's this type of scientific study where it's like very objective, like very. There's different types of scientific studies. It's very clinical study, I think is what I'm thinking of.
Okay.
I think it's a different word, but whatever.
I would say science in general.
Yeah, like they're very sciencey, very, very focused on science and things we can see with our five senses, which is a trap. But it also, there's a lot you can actually help people with just your five senses. Where the East, they're much more connected to, I would even say, I was going to say myth, but I don't think that's actually true. Because we have Christianity and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But just like deeper awareness and I'm feeling called to say more authentic experience with God. Not like a mental experience with God. So that's but I wouldn't say this is my expertise, but it's just my sense of it. And I'm probably more drawn to the East as well. And listen to lots of Eastern cultures, they value like dancing and singing and breath work.
Yeah.
And I've just found more fun in all those things.
Yeah.
I also believe that healing should be really fun most of the time. There's moments when you're going to cry or scream in anger or feel deep pain. That's part of life. But I think like 80% of the time at least, healing should be really exciting and fun. Because you're literally creating a new you.
Yeah.
I think people feel like I should do it. Or they feel guilty if they don't do their journal practice.
Yeah.
They make it like this whole thing.
Yeah.
And so they're actually still, to Tim Ferriss's point, they're playing the game of trying to be a good boy. They're playing the long-term game of trying to be the good boy who does it right.
Yeah.
Not just fucking living and like such a long time.
Yeah.
And so I just think people need to stop judging themselves so much.
Yeah.
Right and wrong consciousness is like level 1 or 2 that Paul Chek teaches about. And so it's just a very low level of consciousness where you're just stuck in like, is this the right thing? Is this the right thing? It's so black and white, as opposed to more context, more higher levels of awareness, more heart, and not so like this or that.
This is, I mean, I find myself there.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
It's like, was working with my current coach on this, kind of expressing it. It's just like, I could notice that little mental dialogue being like, should I fold the laundry right now or should I not? Should I do this or should I not? Like trying to make those decisions with the word should.
Right.
And it's just like,
right.
Do it or don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually one thing. This is the kind of person I'm like
like I think an evolution that naturally happens is you start to realize the futility in thinking so much and analyzing so much.
What does futility mean, actually?
I think it's the right word. It means like, I think it's the right word, futility. If it's the word I'm thinking of, it basically means like it's a futile attempt. Like it's going nowhere.
Okay.
It's like doing the same thing again and again, not getting different results. Like
Okay.
you realize it's not really helping you get what you want.
Okay, yeah.
Like you realize that you're not as in control of life as you think you are. And so you kind of stop thinking. In fact, this is really personal. I've been kind of sick the last week. Like just really lethargic. I've been traveling a lot and doing a bunch of shit, but it's actually a spiritual thing I think is happening inside of me. And thinking, it feels like death. It's just like, I think part of it is just like, my being is just like, no more thinking needs to happen.
Yeah.
And so every time I'm just thinking about anything, like I haven't studied the last week because like actually just reading and thinking has been just too taxing for me.
Wow.
It's been like, I can't do it.
Whoa.
Yeah, pretty intense.
Yeah.
It's been a really tough week.
Yeah, that's tough, especially for you.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
If you can't learn. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And yet I can like, it's weird. Like Leia actually was asking me like, how are you? We connect recently. I'm like, honestly, like I'm incredible and horrible at the same time. Cause like that has been really horrible. And yet I feel something moving and there's moments of just like bliss and freedom and peace and clarity amidst all of that. But it just points to how it has pointed to me how the mind is like thoughts get in the way. Thoughts get in the way.
What do you do when you find yourself in, when you can't, like you haven't been able to escape your thoughts, or like, you're like, fuck, I've been thinking for, and you're just like, I want to quiet down.
Yeah.
Like, what are some of the first things that you'll go to maybe break some sort of pattern or habit like that?
The first ones that come to, I think a couple of great ones is always thinking about the body, like going for a run or doing some breath. We're doing something where you actually just get into the body.
Yep.
But you can do that just sitting here, just body awareness. That's what I typically go to, is just literally bringing my awareness into my body.
Back to the senses.
Just breathing in my body.
Yep.
But I think another good answer that's very true is not trying to not think. And actually using that. It's almost weird. It's a very subtle, like, I'm aware I'm thinking, and you're consciously staying with the thoughts, so you're not trying to avoid it because it typically comes back. I almost use it as like it's almost like when you fully accept something, that's when you can actually change it.
Yeah.
Like when you fully accept something, usually all your thoughts lose your power when you allow them to be fully them.
Right.
Even really dark ones. Like say you have like a super dark thought, like I want to kill that guy.
Did you just read my mind?
I've been making you feel safe here in your home. Thank you. Yeah, and so what was I saying just before that? Want to kill me?
Intrusive thoughts, your darkest thoughts.
That's right. So say you're saying like I want to kill this guy. If you actually let yourself think that. I'm not saying act on it, but let yourself fully think that. Or if you're in a relationship, you see a sexy woman, fully letting yourself see the beauty that the thought, like, your thought is saying, man, she's hot, I want to fuck her. Yeah. Allow that thought to be there. I'm not saying act on it in a relationship, but allow that thought to be there. And what happens is, it completely loses its power, because especially thoughts like that, it's like, I want this, but I learned that I can't have it. Or even with killing someone, it's like, that's not societally acceptable, which is a good thing. But it's still like, I'm not allowed to have that thought.
Yeah.
It can be this feeling.
Yeah.
And so I think just letting your thoughts flow, letting your sensations flow, and being in that seat of awareness, I think it's just like the ultimate teaching.
Yeah.
And so that to me is where I'm getting to in my own journey. Because I've done so many different tools, and I use a lot of them very intentionally, but it's so much more just about how much am I aware of my breath? Am I in my heart or am I in my head? Like, how much am I just in my being, in the witness? And it's incredible how my health gets better, my energy increases, I'm less stressed, I'm less negative, I have all the control over my thoughts and my choices when I'm just really present. So that to me is it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. How about yourself? What tools do you find? I know IFS is big for you.
Yeah, IFS is big. I would say that's like a...
what helps you with negativity?
It's a tool.
Yeah.
IFS is like a tool when I can't really figure it out, maybe. or I'm like, I feel like I'm stuck and I'm like, I need something. Oh yeah, I have this framework.
Yeah.
And then I go to it. Another huge one, which is also from Tim Ferriss, but originally from Byron Katie, is Byron Katie's 4 questions.
Yes.
You know them? Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah, they're so good.
That to me is so much about what I believe. That's actually part of what I put in my course.
Ah, yeah.
And what I thought was like one of the core, most important things to have as a framework for beliefs is her framework there.
It's simple.
Yeah.
And it just shows you that, like, shows us how much power we have.
Yes.
You know, how much, like, and just like the thoughts that we believe.
Yes.
Can we know that they're true?
Yeah.
And like, if not, well, can we just to look at how do we act when we believe these things? So that's one that's been at times been very impactful. I still.
And by the way, want to just share the 4 questions just so?
Oh yeah, the 4 questions are, and it's to run a thought or belief through these 4 questions where you're like.
So you basically start by writing out the phrase. Like if you had to put it into one sentence or phrase, this is what we're working with.
Yeah, yeah.
Like people can't be trusted. Let's just say that's one.
Yeah, people can't be trusted. Brett can't be trusted.
Brett can't be trusted.
Because of something you did.
Yes.
I think
like say for example, what would be an example? Like say let's use a funny example. Say I'm like say like I bought some tequila for us tonight. Say I bought the wrong tequila, and you're just like super pissed about it. Like, fuck, Brett's damn, I told him the tequila, but I didn't get it. He can't be trusted.
Yeah, he can't be trusted.
Yeah.
Brett's kind of useless to me. So if it was a thought like that, I would just believe it and move on.
yeah.
I internalize those.
And I repeat them again with a high level of emotion until the belief starts to stick. Until I feel absolutely certain that I don't want to see him again.
And then I just block them, ice them. No, the 4 questions are: is it true?
Yes.
Is it true?
Yes.
And so, can I know that Brett's not trustworthy? Well, no, it's actually not objective. It's subjective.
Right.
The second question, I believe, is: can you be absolutely sure it's true? So it's like just doubling down. If you answered yes on number 1, it's like, can you be 1000% sure that this thought is true?
Yes. And the challenge is there's thoughts that you're like, yes, it's true.
Yeah.
You know, fuck yeah, he did do that, or it is hard, or I can't do it, or whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, 99% of the time it's subjective. Like it's a subjective thought. You can't say that this is the way. And then the third question is, how do I act when I believe that thought? So when I believe that Brett Bailey is not trustworthy, how do I act? And it's not just like, I mean, writing down these questions is good, but giving your time the space to really, it's the last 2 questions that are all the work.
Right.
You know, the first 2 are just showing you that it's not true, but the last 2 are like, put yourself into the situation where you are the believer of that thought. And for me, it's just like, you know, I'd be a little standoffish with you. I wouldn't open up as much.
Yes.
There'd be certain instances where I just like, I wouldn't trust you with certain things.
Yes.
And it's like a bunch of like negative things where it's like, wait a minute, I don't want to act like that.
Yeah.
Even if I believe that Brett's trustworthy, I don't want to act that way, but that's how you act if you believe that thought.
Yes.
And then finally flipping it on its head is actually she does 2 different things. Is the 4th? It's like a reversal. She kind of like flips it, and there's certain ways that you can flip it. So Brett is trustworthy.
Yes.
Or what's it?
If I was coaching you, I would flip it to Jamie can't be trusted. And I would get you to see where you're not trusting yourself through that perception.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And then I would find something positive for you to believe after, but that's what I would do.
Okay.
Even though I think yours is good too, like Brett can't be trusted.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
I think that's typically not what Byron Katie does with the question. But I mean, in that scenario especially, because if I'm judging you, I'm judging myself for something.
Yeah.
And then I mean, she gets it to flip it and be like, okay, Brett is trustworthy.
Yeah.
And then how do I act when I believe that thought is true? And it's like, oh, when I believe that, it's like, oh, I'm like smiling, happy.
This experience of.
Yeah. And you're like.
And you're in a new reality.
And you're like, oh, okay. So I don't know that this thought is true.
Yes.
If I choose to believe it's true, this is how I act. If I don't, this is how I'll act.
Yes.
And then I don't know if she does this or Tim does this, but they kind of look for facts that support that new truth.
That's right.
So it's like, oh, how is Brett trustworthy? When it's like, oh, wait, there's actually a ton of things. There's actually more than maybe like the opposite. So it kind of just like hammers it in.
Yes, drives it, because a belief, just for everyone watching, a belief like that, like Brett is trustworthy, it's like a table with no legs. It doesn't really hold anything in your mind. It doesn't really hold any weight in your nervous system.
Right.
So you need to add those facts or table legs that help give them some sturdiness. So it like really actually seems true. Because thinking something's true and knowing it's true is completely different. And your life changes when you actually can trust me, not when you just think you should trust me, for example.
I would like to move to a different. It's related, but these questions.
One thing that I actually disagree with what you said initially, which is that the work is the last two questions. I actually think the work is the first two questions.
Oh, interesting.
And this comes from experience using this process with a lot of guys, where we can actually go through the process is very easy. They know how they feel and act when they believe the thought. They know very well, and they actually usually judge themselves for those things. What they can't seem to do is to actually see how their belief isn't true. Yeah, and it's so fucking frustrating for me personally.
Yeah,
because but that actually is the thing, is that because for you it's very now that's the work for you. But because you've developed enough awareness, presence, where you actually can see that. And you also understand intellectually what beliefs are, and that they're things that are creative, not things that are set in stone. But someone who's getting into the work, it's actually very difficult, because when you can't see the picture when you're in the frame.
Yeah,
it's so hard for them to emotionally see how it's not true.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the whole work to me for them, because once they actually get to that point, then there's actually space to do the last two steps of showing them the cost and benefit. What would it be like to have a new future? Then it's just like bang.
Yep.
But nothing happens until those first two are answered with honestly.
Yeah, I reflected on a couple times I've run that through, and I think I could spend more time in those first, because I kind of intellectually can understand that it's like, okay, yeah, it's not true, but deep down, maybe I still believe that it is true, and I don't like actually know that it isn't true.
Yes.
Yeah.
A good one that I struggle with is I'm the master of my emotions. Nothing external can change my feeling. Like, I'm the master. It's difficult when something really seems like it's causing it, right? And that, by the way, that's an example of changing a global belief, because I could change a contextual belief. There's two different beliefs, contextual and global. Like, let's just say like small and big. And I might have a belief about like a contextual belief that says in our relationship, if you don't look at me when I talk to you, you don't care about me. That's a contextual belief. So anytime I'm talking to someone and they start to look away or they look up and I see they're not looking at me, I think that they don't care, because that's a belief I have. And obviously we could question that. Like, is it really true? No, they might have ADHD. They can't help it. Or maybe I don't deserve everyone's attention. You know, who's to say they should just be looking at me? Why? You know, whatever. We can question that. But then there's a global belief that has to be true for that belief to be true, that I can go to. I'm the master of all my emotions. And if I can get that belief, well then even if you do trigger me, if this is true in my nervous system, then even if I get triggered, I instantly come back because I control it. And so that one would be a bit more difficult, for example, to get to like, is it true? But it's like in those moments where you really challenge your resilience. And like, how much of my soul can I embody? Like, is it really true? Am I really limitless? Am I really totally free? Yeah, so I think because some of those beliefs are really deeply ingrained. So I think that is this true is like, if you could really get to the point where you see and feel it's not to say that it's not true, but just that it isn't true.
Yeah, that you can't know.
That's
like
what space is like. And sometimes that's actually all I need to do. I would say at least 50% of the time, I only need the first question. Because as soon as I get that openness of it is true, I'm just like, oh yeah, bang, and then I'm just right back.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love when the questions, like when you've run through the questions enough that you kind of just like, your system knows it already.
Yeah.
Where, you know,
that's part of it too.
Yeah, you kind of, you know the framework, and it's like, you don't even have to consciously go through it. You're just like, this is bullshit that I'm like you just kind of like switch, like you just shift out of it,
Yeah.
like instantly. Yeah.
Well, I'm feeling. I want to ask, make sure all the questions get answered before we close this thing out. But I want to ask you a question that I'm curious about. It's kind of a funny question, but what as somebody with an engineer mind, how do you honestly view the emotional type people? Like when you look at them, like are you just like you are just wasting your energy like stressing about this or thinking about this, or like how does a really logical, and you become more emotional over the years you've opened up and stuff, but how do you think an engineer type brain, logical brain, looks at a person who's like hyper emotional or sensitive?
I will go back to before I believed in emotions.
Yeah, we just got that. Before you believed about
Before I believed they were real. Like I clearly remember having discussions with Steph. Like I was like, emotions are useless. Like I don't get it. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Then it was through work with you. Also, my mother is like emotional, so like there's a lot of good I see. My dad was very not emotional, very logical.
Okay.
Still is.
Yeah.
And my mom's opposite end of the spectrum. Just like you smile at her the right way, and she's crying because she's so happy. Like
That's so cute.
yeah. But yeah, just didn't. I tended more towards the logical side, especially in engineering. Things make sense. There's formulas.
Yeah.
And the shift started to happen when I think I just like got in touch with my own body. I'd been so disassociated with my body for a long time that, through like somatic emotional work, but also just like taking my health into my own hands, starting to eat better, exercise. Then I started to like feel my body. Like, oh, I eat this, I don't feel good. Oh, if I don't get sleep, I don't like. That happened like 5-6 years ago, and then through that, I think it allowed me to kind of feel emotions because I think they're sensations in the body.
Yeah.
Fast forward to now. I still love logic. But in relationship, I think about my relationship with Steph and Nick. A big thing that I've learned is you can't talk about the facts about if it's a debate or something, like it's just like you can't like it's a fight that's going nowhere to debate about if there's a disagreement about something. And just to like for me and Steph, if she comes to me, one thing we've done great at past number of years is just like the story that I'm telling myself, using that language of like the story I'm telling myself, and then also this is how I felt. And in the past I would be like, yeah, but you shouldn't have felt that way because this is what happened. These are logical steps, so you shouldn't feel that way.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, she felt that way. Like that's a truth. Like she felt unheard when I said something. And so just to like see that is the truth.
Yeah.
Prior, just logical brain would have been like, that's wrong. Like you shouldn't feel that way.
Right.
And maybe that is still the case, like she shouldn't, but she did. Like she felt unheard.
That was the impact.
She felt unheard, from what I said.
Yeah.
So to see that,
Bottom line, she felt it.
Yeah, she felt it. Yeah. So to see that and realize it and be like, and then get curious about it.
Yes.
Like, oh, okay. Like I obviously didn't intend to not hear you or for you to feel that way.
Yes.
So it tells us the emotions tell us something.
Absolutely.
About
they're actually
No, it's just they're telling us something about our experience, and to feel them, to witness them, to get curious about them. I think I think there's a huge intelligence in our body. I mean, I think like past 5 years, I think it's mostly mainstream now. I don't know, like a lot of like Gabor Mate stuff and like the body knows a lot more than
Yes.
what we thought maybe. And it's just intelligent. So yeah, that's kind of where I land.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that I love from that. For the people watching who want a practical framework to communicate, I think what Jamie said was great. You can say, the story I'm telling myself is, I think that's a great one.
Yeah.
The story I'm telling myself is, you're trying to hurt me there.
Yeah.
The story I'm telling myself is, you don't care. Or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then you can I was thinking that you can integrate the Is This True Byron Katie framework to help you communicate. Because when you start to understand yourself, you're like, well, when you said that, it made me believe that you don't really care about what we're doing here. And so it makes me just want to like yell at you or hurt you in some way, and I just want to like totally like fuck up this project we're working on. That's really what I feel. And what I need from you is just to know that you do care. And what you've done there is you've completely owned your experience, and you're not caught up in the story that they're the one that made you feel that way. You can actually say, when you said that objective thing, framework, you did or said that objective thing, it made me feel subjectively something. So say the objective thing and then own the subjective response you had. And so, yeah, just for anyone out there who wants that framework, 'cause I think that's so cool. That's how I communicate with everyone.
Yeah.
And unless I'm really triggered, then I communicate like an ape. You know, but generally I try to be really thoughtful.
Yeah.
Because conflicts are really just belief conflicts. And emotional, they're really just about emotional needs. I heard Tony Robbins say all conflicts are rules conflicts, or disagreements on rules. Like, you should have done that. I think I should have done that. You think I shouldn't have done that. I believe I should, it's just belief conflicts. So you're right, we're not fighting over logic, we're fighting over meaning. Meaning creates emotions. We're really fighting over these meanings and emotions we've created that we just believe, not about the facts. And so that's why I think it's good that you, and I think that's why I love to teach it too, is because you get in touch with what's real and what matters. You can have better relationships when you get in tune with your emotions. You have a better life experience when you get in tune with your emotions. It's just a really valid part of life that our Western culture doesn't give us as much as Eastern cultures, in my view.
Yeah, 1,000%.
We get much more disconnected from family, from like just like heart-centered things, generosity, kind of thing. Yeah. Let's just to wind this down.
Let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up with let's each share. Let's each share in a sentence. If we could share a message, just to. Actually, this is cool. Let's share a message in one sentence to our teenage self. The teenage self has come up recently for me. If you had to say in one sentence a message or a reminder or something to your teenage self, what would you say? We'll both do that. We'll finish it up. Listen, I know you think you're hot shit. But take some time to get to know yourself. Take some time to meditate and breathe and feel your body, and you'll learn so much. And be okay to do things just because you want them, even if no one else wants to. That's what I'd say.
I got a couple things coming up.
You go for it. Say the first one.
Keep going. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't allow other people's opinions to affect your path. And follow your curiosity. That'd probably be the biggest. Yeah. Just follow it. Follow your curiosity.
Follow it.
Like, just follow. Like, go down that. But you don't know where it's going to go down there. Just like you see that path, go there. Check it out.
I love it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you everyone for watching.
That was a ton of fun.
Yeah.